Awesome. All right, so where we're going to be picking up today is on page 98. And we're going to get into relationships and recovery, which, what a titillating topic. But before we get to that paragraph, we're going to be picking up on the second full paragraph, middle of the page, burn the idea. So again, page 98, the chapter is working with others, and we're going to be diving into burn the idea. Now, I was hoping we would finish this part last week, but we know how I do with time. Not effectively, not efficiently. We end where we end. Sometimes it's the middle of a paragraph. Uh-oh. So this is a small paragraph that is ultimately summarizing what we were talking about last week. So it says, burn the idea into the consciousness of every man. Which I'm just going to point out that is some language. You know what I mean? It's not saying like, hey, just a gentle reminder in your consciousness. No, we are trying to like hammer this home, like to the point where it is burned into the consciousness of every man that he can get well regardless of anyone. And what we were talking about last week is that idea that my sobriety is not, cannot, will not be contingent upon anything outside of myself. It cannot be contingent on the job, on the car, on the relationship, on the geographic location, on the six-pack, by which I mean abs. Definitely can't be contingent on the six-pack I picked up from the liquor store. But it's not contingent on anything outside of myself. And so when it says, burn this idea into the consciousness of every man that he can get well regardless of anyone. And as you guys might know, that is one of the hills I die on. Paige, we've ceased fighting anything or anyone. Well, I'm fighting y'all on this. You can get well. You can get well. You can recover. This miracle that has happened in our lives can happen in yours. The spiritual experience, the spiritual awakening is available to each and every one of us. That is a hill that I will die on. It's one of my hills where I'm a little pedantic about it. It says the only condition. So the only thing that is asked of any one of us to get well is this. The only condition is that he trusts in God and clean house. The only thing that is asked of me to get well is to trust in a power greater than myself. And if I can't do that, trust the process and clean house. And that is the process. That is 4 through 9. So the only thing that I need to do to get me to a recovered state is steps 4 through 9. And obviously to stay in that recovered state, what is and what will be asked of me is that I continue to do the actions of 4 through 9 in step 10 and in step 11 and work with others. Anyone can recover. So if you're here today, you're new. You're here today, you're coming back. You're here today, you're struggling. You're here today and the miracle is gone. You've got problems that are piling up. What I want you to know is that you can get well. You can recover. This is available to you too. The only thing that is asked of all of us is that we do this work and the miracle happens. So, I mean, that's powerful. That's powerful. This is available to all of us. But so often, I want to do it. I want to do it. I want to write that inventory. I want to do that 5th step. I want to hold on to my old defects of character. I want to make amends. I don't want to. But when I do it, when I do this work, man, that's when everything changes. Welcome. We're on page 98, very bottom paragraph. Now the domestic problem. Ooh, we're talking about relationships. Very exciting. So, and it's kind of one of those like, ooh, relationships? Relationships and early recovery? Well, let's see what the book says about that. I'm trying to make it like scandalous and titillating and exciting. And you guys are already here, so thank you. All right, now the domestic problem. There may be divorce, separation, or just strained relations. What? An alcoholic? Acting in their personal relationships in such a way that would lead to divorce or separation or strained relationships? this is shocking. This is shocking information. I'm as surprised as you are. But yeah, there may be those things. Now, this is talking about the alcoholic getting back together with the ex, which we know there's no problems there. But I really believe that the information is just as applicable to the alcoholic getting into any romantic relationship. And so let's see what the book says about that, because we'll hear some things in the rooms, and I'm not saying it's bad advice. You know, the advice of just stay out of a relationship for your first year. Here's the problem with that advice. We don't know if it works. Nobody's ever done it. Nah, I'm just kidding. But you know, we hear that. We hear those suggestions. And there was that movie, I think it had Sandra Bullock in it. And it was like, you get a plant, and then you get a dog, and that's not going to work, because some people here are cat people and are not getting a dog. You get a dog, and then you get in a relationship if the plant and the dog are still alive, you know. But what if the dog eats the plant? I'm just going to throw that out there. Like, what do I do? There's where I'm staying right now, they have 2 pugs that will eat anything. You can't drop it, they'll go after it. So it's like, but my relationship plant. So what happens? All right, so here is directions, because I know we all think we need that relationship, or our sponsees, it's like, I need that relationship. Well, here's what it says. When your prospect has made such reparation as he can to his family. Wait a minute, it's telling me I need to have made an amends before I get back with the ex? So we're going to take that piece of information. Reparation is to repair, to restore, to make right, to amend. So if I want to get back together with the ex, I at bare minimum, and we're not done the sentence, there is more information, there is more direction, I need to have made an amends to that person. Now, so what does that tell me? That tells me I ought not consider getting back with the ex. And for some of us, we could just put a full stop right there. But I need not consider getting back into the relationship or back with the ex until I am at step 9 and have made those amends. And so we can have a look and we can say when we're new in recovery, it does not make sense to get into a relationship if I haven't made amends for my previous relationships. And when I work with sponsees, now I tell this to them, they don't listen. You know, it is a suggestion that goes into the ether, and where it ends up, who knows? You know, it's like a message in a bottle, and this is the message that goes in the bottle that I'm throwing into the ocean, which is, listen, if you want to get into a romantic relationship, it probably would make a whole lot of sense that at first I have a look at my relationships. So I ought not get into a romantic relationship until I've done my inventory, my 4th step, looked at my resentments, because probably had some exes that I resented there, and took a deep dive into my romantic or sexual relationships and sex inventory. I've also, not you guys, but I'm sure other people are filled with a fear of being in a relationship, fear of being alone, fear of sex, fear of intimacy. Those are different. Who knew? Not me. I had to write some inventory to find that out. But the fear of dying alone, fear of being stuck in a loveless marriage, fear. So it makes sense that I would deal with my resentments, I would look at my fears, and I would have a sex inventory. And from that sex inventory, I would mold and shape a sane, sound sex ideal. Probably shouldn't get into a relationship until I got one of those. And then I probably should not get into a relationship until I've, at least shared that with somebody, in step 5, and got some other eyes on it. And what would be illuminated as defects of character? Well, I probably shouldn't get into a relationship until after I've done my 5, 6, 7 and hopefully gotten some freedom from it. And I probably should, make amends to my exes and previous relationships before getting into a new one, clear the slate. And then, of course, it's probably helpful that I learn how to have relationships with others. So I build that relationship with God in step 10 and step 11, and I begin to work with others in step 12, and I begin to have platonic relationships. And so that's That's what I put the message in the bottle. I say, I don't care if you, when you get into a relationship, but just make sure you're sponsoring other people first. And that goes into the ether and nobody listens, So I won't make you wait a year. And hopefully we're not waiting a year to work the steps or take the action of the steps, right? So like if you want to, get on the dating sites or get into the relationship or meet Mr. Right or Mr. Right Now, or in my case, Mr. Right out of jail, you can do that and you don't gotta wait. But we got to take the course of action. So it says, when your prospect has made such reparations as he can to his family, that is the 9th step amends, and has thoroughly explained to them the new principles by which he is living. So the principles of the program, now this is the track that I take. The principles of the program are the tangible actions of all 12 steps. You see, I talk about this quite a bit. So if you're annoyed about me saying it, that's fair. But the 12 steps are the principles. The actions of all 12 steps are the principles. And if I don't have all 12 steps rocking and rolling and moving in my life, I don't have a foundation. And if I don't have a foundation, it is not a matter of if I drink again, but when. I'm in free fall. Does that make sense? And so if I'm in free fall, I need a parachute. I don't need a relationship. So what it is saying is that the prospect, the sponsee, the newcomer, or if we're applying this to ourselves, we ought not get back together with the ex or in a new relationship until we have recovered through these 12 steps. That's what it's saying. And I know that's disappointing. I thought I would have to wait 28 days and then I could go on Tinder or whatever it is. So it says, the new principles by which he is living. So again, I want to emphasize that these 12 steps are a way of life. It is not something that I do in the meetings. It is how I live my life in all areas of my life. And so, absolutely. We are on page 98. We're in the middle of the bottom paragraph, right in the middle of it. Awesome. You're so welcome. So he should proceed to put these principles into action at home. And what does that mean? What does that look like? You see, when I thought the principles were these nebulous concepts, I don't know about you guys. I'm not really good at pulling tolerance out of thin air, especially when it's like, oh, I'm on edge. You know what I mean? Like, when your spouse does the thing that annoys you all the time, whether it's like the toilet seat in the incorrect position or the toilet paper the wrong way, or, they leave their socks everywhere. I cannot pull tolerance out of my butt. I can't just be tolerant. You know what I mean? I can't. So what do I do? What do I need to do? So what I need to do is I need to put these principles into action. I take that inventory. I have a look at what I am doing, what I'm not doing. I communicate, because that's usually what I'm not doing. You know what I mean? Like, I bring God into this relationship, into the home. Prayer, meditation, inventory, showing up with the spirit of love and service. Like, that's what I do. Like, these tangible actions. I seek to do God's will in everything that I do in the home. That's what it looks like. And so if I got a resentment, I do inventory on it in the 10th step, or if I miss it in the evening review. If I owe an amends, I make the amends. Like, we clean it up, and this is what allows us to have these healthy relationships, which means that I'm probably not able to have a healthy relationship if I don't have these tools, these 12 steps to move in my life. I mean, there are other people that are able to. It's not me, guys. It's not me. So that is if he is lucky enough to have a home. It goes on to say, And this is another one of those places that I love the book because it meets us where we're at. Because you can almost hear that sponsee, that newcomer, that's like, oh, what do you mean? Don't you understand that my family has been at fault in many respects? And so the book is going to meet me where I'm at and take me where I need to go. So it says, though his family be at fault in many respects, that's right. They're at fault. He should not be concerned about that. Oh man, not cool. But I want to be concerned about what they're not doing. I know you all are spiritual giants and never find yourself really looking at what other people are doing or not doing, so we don't have to look at ourselves. I know, not you guys, but I know that a time or two I've by chance fallen into that sort of behavior where I'm like, hey, you're not doing that or you're doing that. So it says, we should not be concerned about that. Now, it's not just saying don't do it, because if you tell an alcoholic don't do it, I can't not do it. You know what I mean? Like, if I am doing it, in my experience, I need God's help. That fault finding, that like finding where you're making mistakes, I call it that self-centered noticing. You know, when you go into a situation and you're already prepped to see where they are wrong? I call that self-centered noticing, because I'm going to notice where they're not doing what I think they need to be doing, because I'm sitting in the position of God in their lives, and I think I know, despite the fact that I can't do nothing about my own life. My own life's a dumpster fire, but I'm going to comment on the flames of your dumpster fire, you know, and yours might not even be on fire. So it says he should concentrate. So this, instead of just not doing it, I need to turn my attention. I need to turn. So he should not concentrate on that. So I'm not concentrating on that. He should concentrate on his own spiritual demonstration. Oh, you guys, I gotta do things. So instead of worrying about what other people are doing, what I need to do is worry about the actions that I'm taking. Lean in, go hard, write my inventory. If I'm disturbed by your behavior, there's something in me that needs to be cleared away. There's something that I've got to get free of. And again, I want to emphasize that word, demonstration. I need to demonstrate. I'm sure we all have, we all kind of go through these phases in recovery. So I'll tell you about these phases. You let me know if you relate or not. At around 30 days sober, there's that theme of, I need to write a book. And then at around 60 days sober, I should work at a treatment center. And then at about 90 days sober, everybody needs this program. You know, some of those. Maybe you guys have hit those, maybe you haven't. I just know I have. To be honest, I never thought I should write a book, though. I never at any point thought my life was that interesting. And actually, I've never really felt called to work at a treatment center. So that's actually, look at me, just being a weirdo. But I hear that's what all the cool kids want to do, is 30 days write a book, 60 days work at a treatment center. So instead of commenting on what the inventory you need to write, or you should make amends, or you should work a program, I focus on me. And I demonstrate the change. And I can't demonstrate the change if I'm telling you what you should do. I can only demonstrate the change by taking my own actions, by writing my own inventory, by making my own prayers, by doing my own meditation, by working with others around me. That's what I've got to do, by growing and seeking God's will for me in my life, by, practicing the 10th step, growing in the 11th step. That's how I demonstrate. For me, the steps aren't these nebulous ideas. They're practical action. So I got to get into action. Paige, we just finished that chapter. We're working with others. I know, it's just based on action. Rude. All right. So it says argument and fault finding are to be avoided like the plague. Y'all know when somebody comes into work and they are sick, and you can tell that they are sick, and you're just like, oh, you just wanted to yikes, that's the sort of vibe with argument and fault finding. We want to stay away from it. And I'm gonna point something out. Not because we're spiritual giants, not because I am a saint. No. I want to avoid argument and fault finding because it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You know, I know you guys have never gotten it. You know, it's 3 a.m. and you can't sleep. And you're fighting that same fight, and and you've got some zingers in that argument that not you guys don't know what it's like to have arguments in your head at 3 a.m. But I do. Pew, pew. And I'm like, I'm slinging, I'm like, if I say that just like that, that will, no, it doesn't work. It's cyclical. It's the cycle, it's the circle, and I can't get out of it. And let's say, in the off chance that lightning has struck and I am right about my assessment of you and what you need to do and in my judgment of others, most of the time I'm not, but let's say a miracle has happened and I'm right. Now what? I can tell it to you and you'll either take me up on it, or in my experience, it's unsolicited advice. You're not going to hear me anyway. So now what? There's nowhere to go. But there is if I go inward and I look at me. And I find where I've been at fault. So it says, and again, I love this because this is the book meeting us where we're at. In many homes, this is a difficult thing to do. You can almost hear the response, you don't understand. It's difficult. We know it is difficult. We get you. This is a difficult thing to do. So the book meeting us where we're at and taking us where we need to go. But it must be done. Oh, it's a little musty in here. We got a must. Somebody open a window. It's musty. I don't know. I'm like that. But it must be done if any results are to be expected. So if I want that outcome, if I want that happy home, if I want that peace, if I want that freedom, I've got to continue to have a look at me and do my inner work. That's what I've got to do. So it says, if persisted in for a few months. Now again, it's not saying a few months sober. I mean, it is. But we're saying it being consistent in 10, 11, and 12. Consistent. Being consistent and looking for where I've been wrong. Consistent in seeking God's will. Consistent in inventory. Consistent. Over a couple months, that will affect those around us. It says the effect on a man's family is sure to be great. I've got to be consistent. And it does not take long. A few months of demonstrating the change, not just a few months sober. It doesn't take long to go through 4 through 9 and to get to that 10, 11, 12 place. It does not. But we're talking about that change, demonstrating that change. That power that's available, that carries an effect. And a lot of times, there was an Al-Anon speaker, and I remember listening to her, and it was just, when the Al-Anons call us out, deservedly so. Actually, I'm off on this tangent. I'll tell you my one Al-Anon joke that I got. Is how many Al-Anons does it take to screw in a light bulb? None. The Al-Anons detach with love as the bulb screws itself. That's my Al-Anon joke. I'm the bulb, guys. But there was an Al-Anon speaker who, she kind of brought something to my attention when she was sharing. And she was talking about that idea, you alcoholics, you get your driver's license back and you act like you won it like an Academy Award. I'd like to thank the interlock device that you blow in, thank you, and we're in, we will give you the applause, we'll give you the flowers. It's you got a suspended sentence. We are here for that, because it is a big deal. But it's also important to remember that the world does not have that same feeling about hey, for 30 days you have not been destroying your life and drinking and doing non-conference approved dry goods with strangers behind a dumpster. It's no, that's just not things we do. So sometimes it takes normal people, non-alcoholics, a little bit longer to sort of get to that same place of excitement for us. And they're not going to get that excitement if all I do is put down the drink. That change needs to be demonstrated. because every time I drank again, I was sober. Sobriety is not a solution to alcoholism. I need a spiritual awakening. So I've got to persist at this for a few months. And the result, and let's be real, for the rest of my life, I've got to persist at this. But to see results, it will take that consistency. It says the most incompatible people discover they have a basis upon which they can meet. Man, that is powerful. If I'm showing up with this God, this power in my heart, it is incredible what can happen. Little by little, the family may. So it says the most incompatible people discover they have a basis upon which they can meet, which sounds a little promising. It's like that can happen. Now, this is a lot softer. This is not a hard line, 9th step promise. This is hey, this could happen. Little by little, the family may see their own defects and admit them. But here's the thing. I show up to life, and what do I want? I want you to see your defects and admit your defects and make an amends for your defective behavior before I do any action. That's not how this thing works. I am the one, and if you're here today, we're the ones that are reading this book. That means that we are the ones that are exposed to the tools. That means that it is our responsibility to use them. And that is going to be just as true as we get into the chapter 2 wives and the family afterwards. That we are going to see these directions. And it doesn't matter who I am, doesn't matter if I'm married, doesn't matter. It is my responsibility to use them. I know, not cool. So if I want people to admit their wrongs, what do I do? Because here's the thing. If I tell you where you're wrong and you have not given me spiritual license, that's consent. You have not given me permission to tell you where I think you've gone wrong and all of that. Well, guess what? That's not going to work. You're not going to be open to it. So where do I start? I start with admitting where I was wrong. I start by coming to you and being honest about my defects of character. And if I do that, if I demonstrate that, if people see that, they might start to do it themselves. A lot of times, again, when I'm in that, but you need to admit you were wrong first. Most people don't know how. There are some amazing, wonderful, non-alcoholic, non-Al-Anon, these people that just live their life and they know how to function as a wonderful human being. But most people don't, alcoholic or not. They don't know. So I can't expect them to pick up a tool they don't have. I've got to demonstrate how it works for me. So little by little, the family may see their defects and admit them. These can then be discussed in an atmosphere of helpfulness and friendliness. I'm just going to paint a picture. You know what helpfulness and friendliness is not? It is not, I knew it! Yeah, absolutely. And this and this and this and this and this. That's not it. That's not it. The atmosphere of helpfulness and friendliness is, yeah, me too. Here's what I found to be really helpful with that for me. That's more the tone. I do know though that moment when somebody admits they're wrong and it's this internal sense of victory. But that's not how we do. Alrighty. So it says, after they have seen tangible results, I can ask myself, have I demonstrated tangible results? The family will perhaps want to go along. They might want to work this program, take this course of action that's laid out in this book. Nothing is going to be more attractive in terms of making the program, nothing's going to be more attractive than a recovered person. I don't know. Quote me on that if you want. I don't know. But really, nothing is going to make the program more attractive than demonstrating the power of the program. So after they've seen tangible results, the family will perhaps want to go along. These things will come to pass naturally and in good time. So it will happen. But here is the caveat. You know how we have promises, and those promises are always hooked in with some fine print, which again is rude. Like those 9th step promises. I got to be over halfway down, or before I'm halfway done my amends. I got to do amends to get the 9th step promises. Oh, rude. Or the 5th step promises. You know what I got to do to get those? A 5th step. Not cool. The 10th step, what do I got to do? Actively doing a 10th step. Crazy. So just like this, we've got promises and then we've got a little bit of fine print. Here's the fine print. So these things will come to pass naturally in good time, provided, however, the alcoholic, that's us, continues to, here's this word again, demonstrate, that I'm showing you, demonstrate that he can be sober, considerate, and helpful, regardless of what anyone says or does. That is what I need to demonstrate. And of course, I need to demonstrate the continued sobriety, obviously, but that I can be considerate, that I can be helpful, that I can show up with a spirit of love and service in all that I do, that I'm demonstrating that. And again, I'm not self-willing kindness. I'm self-willing the inventory, the prayers, the meditation. Like that's where my willpower is taking the action, and it gets me out of the way and a loving power flows through me. And that's how I can show up and be kind and considerate and helpful, regardless of what is going on outside of me. It says, of course, we all fall much below the standard many times. I love this because it's like, whoa, that's a big ask. I'm going to fall. I fall down that fall below that standard all the time. Of course, we all fall much below this standard many times, but we must try to repair the damage immediately, to clean it up quickly. And repairing the damage, that's amends. That's cleaning it up, like making amends for where I've caused harm. But we must try to repair the damage immediately, lest we pay the penalty by a spree. So if I don't clean it up, I will get drunk. That's a warning. So when we talk about, what do I need to do in order to stay sober? What I need to do is I need to work these 12 steps as a way of life, like my life depends on it, because it does. You see, what I need is nothing less than a spiritual awakening, that I grow, that I deepen, that I grow, that I deepen, that I have multiple experiences, that I seek more. That's what I need. Nothing less than that. And I will drink again. And so what happens is, as human beings, we get complacent. I do a big book study on Fridays with Terry, who's phenomenal, and he's been talking about how complacency is a killer for alcoholics. And it's true. But it also talks about, hey, but Paige, I thought resentment was the number one offender. Yes. You see, what happens is when I am complacent, a little resentment will pop up. You left your socks on the floor again. That person cut me off in traffic. Paige shared too long at the meeting. Boop, 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 boop. And these little resentments will build and build and build and build. And I'm not clearing them away. The complacent, they will always build. I'm never going to be free of resentment or fear or self, because I am a human being. It will always continue to pop up. And I will continue to have to clear it away. But the more I clear it away, the deeper the experience of God that I receive. The more that I grow, the more that I experience, the more that I awaken to new realities. So, if I continue to harm others, if I continue to allow resentments to build, if I continue to do those things, it will build and it will build and it will build. And I will get so clogged up with self, fear, resentments, selfishness, self-centeredness, 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, and self-pity. I will get so filled up that it'll block that connection between me and God. And my job is just to keep that connection clear so that power can flow through me. So again, nothing less than a spiritual experience that I grow and that I deepen, and I will drink again. I couldn't stay well on one drink. I can't stay well on one spiritual experience. So it goes on to say, there may be divorce or separation. If there be divorce or separation. What? Alcoholics? What? There should be no undue haste for the couple to get together. Now, I can't tell you how often I've had sponsees that want to get back with the ex or back into that off and on again relationship. And I'm like, I go here and I'm like, it feels like there's undue haste. The haste feels a little undue, does it not? They don't think I'm funny. But that there should be no undue haste for the couple to get together. We don't want to rush back into a relationship or if we're new, rush into a relationship. The man should be sure of his recovery. How will I know if I'm sure of my recovery? It's not if I'm sitting on a 4 or sitting on a men's. All 12 steps. That is how I'll know. Is when I'm working with others, my men's are made, I've got the daily prayer meditation inventory rocking and rolling. Like, that's how I know I am. You can feel it, you know. And it says the wife should understand his new way of life. If I don't have the steps as a way of life, there's nothing for the partner to understand. So that, don't get together. There is haste. No one do haste. No. If their old relationship is to be resumed, it must be on a better basis. That's a basis of life, a radically different foundation, since the former did not work. And for us, what that means is I need a radically different foundation that I was having in a former relationship or in any of my relationships. And that radically different foundation is all 12 steps. And it says, this means a new attitude and spirit all around. Now, I can't control the other person's foundation or the other person's attitude and spirit, but I sure as heck can be aware of mine. So, a new attitude and spirit all around. Now, what I will say is, for me, a new attitude and new spirit, that does sound a little like a spiritual awakening on my end, you know? New attitude, new spirit, just a little bit of a sneaky, just a little. Alrighty. All right, so sometimes it is to the best interests of all concerned that a couple remain apart. Now, I genuinely want you to know that I work with sponsees, and sometimes they might have codependency. I know, shocking. Shocking. An alcoholic also codependent? I'm appalled that would happen. No, but that's part of us. And I can't tell you how many times I worked with somebody who's in that relationship they need to leave, or that in, out, I'm back with him again, or, you know, whatever it is. I can't tell you how often I've been in those. And like, the joke I want to make is that, like, yeah, it's of the best interest for the sponsor that the couple remain apart. Because, man, I don't want to have to help you with inventory on that jerk again. But the truth is, the genuine truth is, I don't mind. As long as somebody's willing to do the work, I have infinite patience. You guys know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm working with you and you are doing the work, you're writing the inventory, you're seeking God, you're working with others, I'll be honest, I'm not a results person. I don't care about results. I'm an effort person. If I can see that you're putting in effort with these 12 steps, man, I don't mind. You can call me about him or her or whoever, 100 times. I don't mind. But I will say, as somebody on the outside, there's often a bit of a better gauge of like, hey, if it didn't work the last 36 times and nothing's changed, I'm just going to throw out there that 37 and 38 might not be that much different. All right. Just 38, 39, 40. Just while we're counting. Perhaps. Just perhaps, right? Perhaps. So, but what do I know? Obviously, yeah, maybe. Obviously, no rule can be laid down. Let the alcoholic continue his program day by day. So actively working this program, these 12 steps on a daily basis. So it's a daily thing, day by day. And when the time for living together has come, it will become apparent to both parties. And I always like to joke, it is not apparent. It is not apparent. But it'll be obvious. And I will say, when we get into recovery, and then, like, the ex that we were in and out of, recovery with, and that person gets sober, and it's like, oh, we're both in sober living. It's apparent. It's not. But there's nothing I can do to stop you. Listen, I know what it's like, where, the blue of his eyes matches the blue of my grippy socks. I get it. There's not an ounce of judgment. I'm just pointing out what the book says. All right. So, apparent to both parties. Yeah, sometimes it's a little apparent to them, but not apparent to anyone on the outside. But we've all been there. All right. It says, let no alcoholic say he cannot recover unless he has his family back. And we can extrapolate. Let no alcoholic say he cannot recover unless he has X, Y, Z. Whatever the thing that I think I need in order to recover, it just isn't so. In some cases, the wife will never come back for one reason or another, which is, we put our loved ones through a lot. It hurt them. It's okay. Our sobriety is not to, actually, it says, now this, I was going to say it ahead of time. This bottom line of 99, this is important. Remind the prospect that his recovery is not dependent upon people. It is dependent upon his relationship with God. Again, just hammering home that information, what we're trying to burn into the consciousness of every man, that you can get well regardless of anyone. You can get well regardless of anything that is happening outside of yourself. Whether the partner comes back, the job comes back, the whatever comes back, you can get well. It is dependent upon his relationship with God. That's what I've got to focus on. We have seen men get well whose families have not returned at all. And we have seen others slip when the family came back too soon. I think we all know what it's like to work with people and have the person that's like, no, you don't understand. I need a job. And I need to, oh man, it's heartbreaking to work with parents when it's like, I need to get my kids back. And I need to, I need these external things, and I get it. It feels like that's what we need. But the things that I put ahead of recovery are some of the first things that I lose when I inevitably relapse. And I was joking about like the hills that I die on. One of the hills that I die on is that you can recover. You can recover, you can get well, you can have the promised spiritual awakening. That can and will happen for you. But another hill that I die on, and this is me being a little pedantic, and actually I will say, God will. It is wild how often God will show up, and man, you will be taken care of. Yeah, exactly. You will. Let's all tease Brian. Genuinely, it's like God won't pay the bills. It's like, yeah, God does. Yeah, God does. It is wild how often that happens. And and I'll just sort out that Brian's teasing me. He knows me. But you know how often I was paying my bills when I was drinking? None. Yeah. And what will I do if I focus on getting a job? I will lose it quickly in a bender. Yeah. No idea how, but God does. God does. And so one of the places where I'm pedantic is, and with purpose, pedantic with purpose, is that idea that it is not progress, not perfection. We often say that in the rooms. Oh, it's progress, not perfection. And I want to be really clear. It is not progress, not perfection. It is spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. That is such an important distinction, because I can progress in terms of getting the job, getting the car, getting the kids, getting a relationship, getting the abs, getting the pets, getting the triathlon, getting the whatever it is, getting the new XYZ. But none of that has the power to keep me sober. None of that has the power to keep me sober. And we know, because by the time we got here listening to me natter on a Wednesday, listen, you have tried everything else. I am the last resort of the truly desperate. So if you're here today, you've tried everything else. If you're listening to me, I'm so glad you're here. Love you. But and that's the truth. That I've tried everything else, and none of that could keep me sober. But if I seek that connection, that relationship, that spiritual awakening, I promise everything else will fall right into place. Not how I think it should, because I was wrong anyways, but how it needs to. Like it does really work out. So, we have seen men get well whose families have not returned at all. We have seen others slip when the family comes back too soon. And working with a lot of women, I've worked with, over the years, a lot of women who have had their children in care. And that is hard. And they'll come to me and they're like, I'm doing this so I get my kids back. And I'm like, I don't care why you're doing it. Let's do it. Because our motives don't matter in why we do it. If we do it and continue to do it, we can get well. But here's what'll happen. And some of them will say, I'm doing it for me. It doesn't matter. But one of the most heartbreaking things is to see them make a start. And they demonstrate to the Child and Family Services, and then the kids come back. And what's the most natural thing to do? I've got to put the kids first and to lean in with the kids. And how could you not? I understand. And the guilt, and like I understand in a tremendously empathetic place. I get that. But then what happens is they relapse and the kids are taken away again. And it's like, man. And we can't see it when it's us. You know, when I'm in it, I can't see it. But I gotta put this thing first. Now, I'm not a parent, but what I found is when I put this first, these 12 steps, a relationship with a power greater than myself, when I put God first, I am the best version of myself in every other area of my life. I am a patient aunt. I am a patient friend. I am a loving person. I show up as the best or growing as a better version of myself in every other area of my life. And I'm far more able to be fully present. Now, that's just my experience. So this next paragraph, we got some promises. And man, this is powerful. It really is. So it says, oh man, and it's again the hill that I die on. Both you and the new man must walk day by day. So this is a daily thing. I've got to do it on a daily basis. And it's also why I like to work with sponsees on a daily basis. It said we had to do it day by day. And some of you might be like, but it does say walk, Paige. And y'all know I don't do that very well. It's a spiritual walk. Don't be mean to me. It's Kate's face, yeah. Oh, gosh. But day by day, to do this on a daily basis. And it says the path of spiritual progress. The path of spiritual progress. I've got to progress spiritually. So if I persist, which is to say continue, if I'm doing this, remarkable things will happen. Remarkable. When we look back, we realize the things which came to us when we put ourselves in God's hands were better than anything we could have planned. And man, that is powerful. Some of you probably gathered, I have a deficit in my attention. And so when I do talks, I don't like to do experience, strength, and hope because I got bored of doing that like a long time ago. And so I do different things and I'm like, woo, we're bouncing around. So I do this one talk that I do. It's a talk that juxtaposes what does my life look like in my hands. And I'll tell you, I won't bounce us around and do the whole talk. Although Vivian's not here to tell me to be quiet on time. She's very helpful at that. I have vibes. She doesn't even say anything. I can feel the vibes that are like, Paige, you need to wrap up. She's not here, but I did get the vibes that say, Paige, a lot of us are from the South. You need to talk slower. She's told me that several times. Got those vibes. Information did not come out. Talking fast. Sorry, guys. But what does my life look like when it's in my hands? Well, more often than not, it looks like I'm burning my life to the ground. I'm drinking again, or I'm hurting myself again, or I'm hurting others again. You know, I'm on the best case scenario, me on my own willpower, I'm living in the bedevilments on page 52. I can't make a living. I'm full of feeling of uselessness, a prey to misery and depression. I'm just not okay. And that is what my life is like in my hands. My life in my hands, I don't want to live it. My life in my hands, I don't want to be here anymore. But when my life is in God's hands, it is better than anything I could have planned. Now that is a powerful promise. In God's hands, I awaken to a new reality. In God's hands, I experience a peace beyond anything I could have experienced. In God's hands, there is real, powerful freedom. In God's hands. And of course, the next question is, how? How do I get my life and me out of my hands? Because it's not working. And how do I put myself in God's hands? The answer is the 12 steps. That is the sole purpose of the 12 steps. To get me out of my hands and put me safely and securely in God's hands. And when I do that, the results is better than anything I could have imagined. And if you guys remember on page 59, we read that little sneaky promise and how it works, where it says we asked his protection and care with complete abandon. See, on page 59, what my life is like is I'm at the precipice. I'm at the edge of a cliff. And the monster that is my alcoholism is barreling down. And there is nothing that I can do to put between me and the inevitability of the first drink. And I've run out of, I'll run out of running room. I'm at the edge of the cliff. There's nowhere to go. It's going to get me. And I look over the edge and I see this cloud of unknowing. And I can't see beyond the cloud, but what I can hear is I can hear your voices. And your voices are shouting, jump, jump, jump. Take that leap of faith. And out of pure desperation because of the monster that is barreling down, and the trust that I have that you've got better things to do than lie to me, I take that leap of faith. And that leap of faith, as I work these 12 steps, is a way of life like my life depends on it, because it does. And beyond, and I barrel through that cloud of unknowing. And where do I land? Safely and securely in God's hands. And actually, I'm visiting my niece and my nephew right now. And they're both teenagers. One's 13, one's 15. And they're doing their teenager things. But when they were toddlers, they would do this thing. And what it would look like is climbing a little too high on the back of the sofa, and then it would sound like, Auntie Paige, catch! And then I'd have to don't drop the toddler. And they would do that again and again and again and again. And that's what it looks like to dive, to take that leap of faith, complete abandon. They would just do that again and again and again. And why were they able to do that? Jump with complete abandon. Well, the truth is that they have never been dropped. And that's my experience here. I will always be caught. God's hands will always catch me. But I have to take that leap of faith. And actually, that's probably a pretty, I got to finish that paragraph. I was going to say, that's a good place to end it. Finish the paragraph, girl. You got time. All right. So it says, follow the dictates. And it's like, I don't like being dictated to. Directions. Just follow the directions of a capital H, capital P, higher power. And what are the directions of a higher power? Well, first and foremost, it's these 12 steps as a way of life. Like my life depends on it, because it does. More may be revealed. You may be led in other ways. But I start there. Those are the directions. If I've not written inventory, guess what? The dictates of a higher power, inventory. If I got amends I haven't made, guess what? It's the amends. If I don't have a sponsee, guess what I got to do? Get a sponsee. If I'm not praying, meditating, doing my evening review, doing 10 steps, guess what? It's that. So follow that. The dictates of a higher power. And you will presently live in a new and wonderful world, no matter what your present circumstances. And again, that is another line that is powerful. That there is a new and wonderful world, no matter what is happening outside of myself. What is happening with my physical self? My sobriety is not contingent on getting the job, getting the relationship, getting the money, getting what I think I need. It is contingent on my relationship with God. And that is powerful. It is a new and it is a wonderful world, regardless of what is happening outside of myself. Man, that's powerful. And that, you know what that means? That means life can be hard. And it was last week. It was last week. I'm like, I don't want to share about that. It's one of those things where it's like, I can feel when God's like pushing me to talk about things I don't want to. And I'm like, rude, I don't want to. But I was talking a lot about my illness and how I got sick and ended up in the wheelchair and all that. And I will tell you, some of the most painful times in my life have happened in my sobriety after and around when I got sick. And some other things that have happened. But the same person with the same physical illness, with the same physical symptoms, although I will say it always helps if I don't have to throw up. Just throwing that out there. But the same person with the same symptoms, with the same illness, I can go from wanting to die, to hate myself, to thinking I don't belong, to thinking I shouldn't be here, to having meaning and purpose and joy. And nothing about my health has changed. Nothing about some of the struggles with my disability has changed. None of the trauma about my disability has changed. None of that has changed. But how I show up and how I see it has changed. That's powerful. That wherever I am, I can grow. Wherever I am, whatever's going on right now, we can get through it. And we can get through it with something that is beyond just grit and bear it. There is a peace. There is a power, a new and wonderful world. And that new and wonderful world is what it looks like to live with an awakened spirit, what it looks like to live in the spiritual awakening, to live in the fourth dimension. And what I will end on is that it is available to each and every one of us. And if you haven't had this yet, please let us help you. So what I'll do is I'll stop the recording.